welcome back. Today I'm going to do a book talk for The Winter's Curse by Marie Ruskowski. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I finished this book yesterday and I just started The Winter's Crime, but I wanted to do a book talk about this one first before I got really far into The Winter's Crime and kind of forgot what happened in this book. So that's what I'm going to do today. Okay, so The Winter's Curse is kind of set in like a post-war kind of era where we are in the point of view of Kestrel, and she's a 17-year-old girl and she is the general's daughter. And she's basically told that she is either to enlist in the military or marry by, I think, her 21st birthday? I feel like that's what it was, but I don't remember for sure, so don't quote me on that. But that is what she has to do. She has to marry or enlist, and she doesn't really want to enlist. It's that conflict that she has with her father. Okay, so there's the two people. There's the Valorians, which is what Kestrel is, and they've won the war, basically. And then there's the Haranis. I think that's how you pronounce it. Again, I don't know. But the Valorians basically took over Haran? I'm gonna say Haran. We're gonna go with Haran. So the Valorians took over Haran and basically captured the Haranis and made them their slaves. So in the beginning of the book, we meet Kestrel and she's in the market with her friend Jess. And Jess is buying these topaz earrings from this Harani merchant. And basically Kestrel tells Jess, or basically confronts the merchant, saying, you know, those are fake, those are glass. And I guess it makes a big deal out of it, and so like the Harani could potentially get in trouble, so Kestrel just says, you know, take my money, we'll take the earrings, and they leave. And then they end up going, like, accidentally ending up right in front of the slave market. And that's kind of the big intro for this book. It's setting the stage for the whole story. So the auctioneer comes out and is like, you know, I've got this big surprise for you guys. And he calls out the slave, who I guess captures Kestrel's eye because she sees something in him or something. And so she bids, and then once she bids and everyone realizes that Lady Kestrel, the general's daughter, is bidding, everyone else starts bidding to try to beat her bid. So she keeps bidding too because she decides, I guess, that she wants to buy him, and eventually she wins. So she goes down to collect the slave, and the auctioneer, you know, insists on walking her and the slave home because she didn't bring enough money to purchase him at once. After the whole slave ordeal, I guess, Aaron, who we find out his name is Aaron. At first we think his name is Smith, but we find out his name is Aaron. And the first couple days that he's at Kestrel's, I guess, villa house, he kind of just wanders around because Kestrel hasn't really given him orders on what to do, so he's just kind of wandering around. And then he ends up getting, you know, instructions on, like, he needs to start making horseshoes, and like he makes tons and tons and tons of horseshoes. I don't really remember why he was supposed to make horseshoes. I think it was because they were getting tired of him sitting around. So that's what they made him do. But he was making enough horseshoes to supply all the horses and then some. And then I guess Kestrel and Aaron start spending a lot of time together, and that's one of the things I really liked about the book, is the relationship between the two and how it kind of, there's always tension there. There's always, like, you can't tell if it's romantic or not. They're just always, like, they're always at each other's throats kind of thing, like, I don't know, I just really like that. So if you haven't read the book, I don't advise watching the rest of this video because I am going to go into the story more and talk about kind of what I liked and what I didn't like about the book, but I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't read it. So if you haven't read it, go read it, and then you can come back and watch the video, and then you guys can discuss with me what you thought, what you disagreed on, what you agreed on. But make sure you leave if you haven't read the book, because I'm going to spoil the entire book for you. So I'm warning you, if you're gonna read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, bye! Okay, so for those of you that have read the book, back to what I was saying about Aaron and Kestrel's relationship. They start hanging out a lot, and she pretty much makes sure that he always is the one to escort her. So he escorted her everywhere, like to Ronan and Jess's house, and to the parties, and to the market, and all that kind of stuff. And then they started hanging out even at the villa. She was starting to realize that Aaron wasn't really all he was saying that he was, because he spoke Valorian fluently and he could understand what everyone was saying even though he was a Harani. So that was kind of interesting. So she knew something was up, and then she also found out that he knew how to play the Valorian bite and sting game. So they started playing that together, and basically at first they would bet matches, and then he got sick of that, so he ended up making it so they would bet questions. Like if the winner, whoever won, would get to ask the loser a question and the loser would have to answer. So that started, and they started, you know, asking questions about each other, and then eventually Aaron asked Kestrel if he could have like free passes to go to the market to see his lover or whatever, and so she let him because he won, so he gets to go off and see this girl, this mystery girl at the market. But yeah, so after all that, and she finds all that out, they go to, I think his name was Irix. Irix is having a dinner, and Irix is an asshole, excuse my language, but he's just a mean guy. And I think the reason he's so mean to Kestrel is because she always beats him in Bite and Sting, and he doesn't like losing his money to her, I guess. And Bite and Sting is kind of like, from what I gathered, it's kind of some sort of gambling game. I don't understand it. The game wasn't really explained super in detail, but Irix doesn't like Kestrel because she always takes his money. So Irix, one day at, I don't remember the girl's name, but some lady had this party that they were all at, and Kestrel beat Irix, and he basically cornered her kind of in the woods and was like not freaking out, but she walked away or whatever. So we can kind of gather that Irix and Kestrel don't get along. So at Irix's party, she makes sure that Aaron escorts her, and he kind of acts kind of weird, like in the carriage ride down there. He's like, where are we going? And then once they get there and they walk into the reception hall and there's like armor and like swords and decorations all in the halls, Aaron's like, that's not where those belong. And he just starts acting really weird. And then when they get into the party more, he tells Kestrel to release him to the kitchens because he doesn't want to be here, whatever. So Kestrel lets him go to the kitchens, and then throughout the party more, Kestrel gets confronted by another slave saying, your escort's in trouble. And so she follows this girl to this library where Aaron is basically in the arms of two guys, and then Irix is standing there saying, he is a thief, he's trying to steal this book from me. So Kestrel picks up the book, and it's a Harani poetry book, and then on the inscription on the inside, it said, for Aaron, from Amma and Ida, I think, with love. So then we kind of piece together that, oh, this is where Aaron used to live before the war. Irix wants to punish Aaron, like, for being a bad slave and for stealing, and Kestrel steps in and goes, no, we're not going to punish him, and then ends up somehow challenging Irix for a duel kind of thing, which I gathered from that it's like a fight to the death kind of thing. And so she's like, yeah, we'll do that, and whatever. And so now these rumors are spreading about Kestrel having a romantic relationship with her slave, and that they're lovers and whatever. And then Kestrel gets a package from Irix the day of the duel with her death price on it, which is like 500 gold pieces or something like that. So she's like, great. He gave me the death price before the duel, like he must be pretty confident that he's gonna win. And then Aaron finds out, and Aaron's like, no, you're not gonna do that. So she lies and says that she's gonna back out. And she wrote a letter to Jess and Ronan? Yeah, Jess and Ronan and her father. She wrote letters to those three people, and she told Aaron that she wrote a letter to Irix saying that she's gonna forfeit or whatever. So they go down to the horse stables to get the letters delivered, and she's like, here, deliver this to my father, and then lock this slave up. So she basically locks Aaron up, and then horseback rides down to meet Ronan at the gate for the duel. So then the duel happens, and basically her dad shows up, and her dad is like, you know, not really upset, but kind of upset, but more supportive of his daughter, and letting her know that he's like supporting her there, and gives her some little pep talk or whatever. So then the duel starts. Obviously Irix is winning because, well, he's a man, he's bigger, he is more military trained than Kestrel is, because Kestrel just really didn't want to be trained in the military, so she's not really good at it. But then she basically gets close enough to Irix where she can confront him, saying that he knows he fathered a illegitimate child with this other lady, which I forgot her name because I just wasn't into that part of the story that much, so a lot of the little details kind of left my head. But she basically said, you know, I've told Ronan and I've told Jess, and if you kill me, they're going to tell everybody that you have a legitimate child with this woman. And so he's like, so then what do you suggest? And she basically says, you know, you need to let me win and make it look good because my dad is watching. So after the duel, we kind of find out what Aaron is really doing when he goes into the market to meet his sweetheart. And basically he is going to meet the auctioneer, who is also known as Cheat, to basically tell him what's going on in the Trajan house, which is the general's house. So we find out that he's a Harani spy, and that they are planning an invasion / takeover to basically take their land back from the Valorian. And so we find out that they are planning their invasion for the first Winter's Ball, because that's when the general is going to be going to the east, I think, to fight some other battle or something. So they plan their, you know, their invasion, their takeover for the ball that Kestrel ends up going to. So during the ball, basically the Haranis planned on spiking the wine with poison, and then there was the armory was getting blown up, and then I think the captain's quarters of the royal guard kind of thing were getting blown up. So once Aaron found out that Kestrel was going, he insisted that he escort her, and then once they got there, he told her not to drink. Don't drink anything, and she was like, okay, why? Like, why does it matter what I drink or what I don't drink? And then he goes off to the kitchen to talk to the other Harani slaves about what's going on, to find out what wine is being served with the poison. And while he's off doing that, Kestrel is dancing with Ronan. And Ronan kind of says, you know, I know there's a lot of talk going around about you and your slave. I could take, you know, the spotlight away from all that. And then he basically asks her, no, he doesn't, he straight up asks her to marry him. And she kind of looks over his shoulder and sees Aaron there and says no. And then Ronan turns around to see who she's looking at, and of course he gets really ticked off because he kind of understands now that I guess the rumors are true. And so Kestrel just walks away. She leaves. She walks outside, goes to the carriage, and Aaron is following her. And then once they're in the carriage, he ends up on the ground below her, like holding her hands, and then they kiss, and then the explosions go off, and we're like, oh no, like, what's going on? And he's like, wait, let me explain. And then she realizes, like, everything kind of falls together for her, and she realizes, oh my god, you were here, you were asking all these questions, you wanted to know where my dad was, you told me not to drink the wine, and like, now there's explosions, like, you are a spy, and you just invaded my people. So she freaks out. She gets out of the carriage, steals this horse, and rides back to her villa, where she is then attacked by Cheat. And Cheat's like, I'm gonna kill her, like, I'm gonna break your hands, because she's a pianist, so her hands are like special to her, and or whatever. And so she goes there and basically gets dragged back into her house, where she sees all of her slaves and all of her servants and all that kind of stuff. They're all dead. And like, that was really kind of sad. Just like, oh, it was sad. And then Aaron shows up, and Aaron's like trying to explain it to her or whatever. And so basically Cheat wants to get rid of her because she's a Valorian, and she's the general's daughter, so it would be like a big pow in the face kind of thing. But Aaron is like, no, I'm gonna keep her as my slave, so now I can do what she did to me back to her. But really, he wanted her to be around, I think, because I don't know, like, this was what was so complicated. Like, I didn't know if there was a relationship there or not, like, if he was genuinely feeling for her, or like if he just wanted to like pay her back for all the slavery. I don't know. It was really confusing. Basically, Aaron takes Kestrel back to his old house, which is Irix's house. He takes it back because it was his, and gives Kestrel the east wing, but locks all the doors, so she's practically a prisoner in this fancy house. And I kind of was just skimming through this part of the book because I was like, I just wanted to finish it. The story didn't really capture me, but I really wanted to know what was going to happen between Kestrel and Aaron. So I was skimming, and basically what I grabbed from it was that Kestrel and Aaron really started to, you know, Kestrel started to get feelings for Aaron, and while she was also planning on trying to get out, kind of thing. And Aaron went off to the border to stop the Valorians from coming in, because there was this big troop that was coming in. So we stopped that from happening, and then when he came back, Kestrel was like really excited to see that he was alive and stuff, and then she felt bad because she knew that him being alive meant that there was a bunch of Valorians that were dead. And so that was kind of sad, because now we can see Kestrel's in this kind of like whirlwind of feelings. Like, she doesn't know what to feel because her people are dying, but she's like falling in love with this boy who's causing all of this. And so it's really just like a whirlwind of what the hell? Like, we don't know what's going on. Cheat sets up this thing where he basically tells Sersani, which is Aaron's cousin, and Aaron need to go to the prison to look at the prisoners or whatever. And they walk in, and most of the Valorian prisoners are dead because Cheat had ordered to kill them all. And I don't remember how it got brought up. But basically, Sersani, the girl, the cousin, said maybe this was a distraction for what Cheat's really doing. And Aaron's like, oh my god, Kestrel, and so he ends up going back to his house right when Cheat is basically attacking Kestrel, and he has her on the ground, like on her stomach, and he's like pushing down on her back. And so Aaron takes his sword and shoves it through his freaking stomach, his chest, and kills him. I'm like, oh, okay, bye Cheat, Cheat's dead. And so that's kind of, I guess, when the gates of Kestrel and Aaron's relationship really opened. He gave her the set of keys to her room and to the garden upstairs because she was really upset that Cheat had keys. And I guess Cheat had made copies somehow because Aaron didn't give him keys, but Cheat got his own keys. And so she was upset about that, so Aaron gave her keys so she could have a little bit more freedom. And then she would end up going to Aaron's wing to see him, and like they kept, you know, taking like tiny little baby steps closer to actually being together. And then one night, they kiss or something, and it's like really heated, and she just like pushes away and like runs and like goes, and then decides that she's gonna leave. So she finds a way to break into the garden, not break into the garden, but goes into the garden, climbs up this door. I think, I couldn't really imagine how the garden was. Like, I guess there was a door that left her wing, went up to a garden, and then there was another door that led to Aaron's side of the garden. So she climbed that door, ended up on the roof, and then ran down the roof and grabbed the horse and escaped, I think. I think that's what happened, but then she knew she was being followed, so she ditched the horse and walked the rest of the way on foot, and she ended up at the docks, and Aaron was already there, and he kind of stood there and looked at her, and she reached for this makeshift weapon she had, and he had this look on his face of, like, just hurt, like, you know, like, I'm sad that you're leaving kind of thing. But then he ended up going into the dock master house or whatever to distract the dock keeper while she escaped. So he basically let her go because whatever reason. But he knew when she was leaving that she was going to go to the capital, go to the empire, go to the emperor, and tell them of the invasion. So that I was kind of confused about, because it's like, why would you just let her go after all the work you just put into getting Haran back? Now you're letting her go. Tell the emperor, hey, we were invaded, like, all that work for nothing. But then we find out later that he knew a green storm was coming, so he basically said Kestrel to her death, or so he thought. But like the second night through on her little boat, the green storm happened, and she just ended up like freaking out and decided that she wasn't gonna tell on Aaron. And I don't remember what she was gonna say instead, but I know she decided that she wasn't gonna tell. And then she passed out and woke up being rescued, and before she realized what she was doing, she just spilled out everything, and then she passed out again. And then she woke up in the Empire, the Emperor's Palace castle thing, and again, I'm skimming through this part of the book because I wanted to finish it. So basically, from what I gathered, the Emperor went and sent Valorians to attack Haran. And she was like, it would be smart if you just let them have their freedom, if you let them govern themselves, but under your control. And then if you focused your military power on the east. And he said that he would do that under one like circumstance, and that was that she would marry his son and become the next empress. And so she, of course, was like, yeah, because she wants to save Aaron's life, because hello, romance. Like, finally you can totally tell that they want to be with each other. It's just so complicated. Like, there's no way that it could actually work. So that happens. The emperor says, yes, you're gonna marry my son. I will draw back the troops. And then she ends up going down to Haran. The whole time that she had escaped and was at the palace, basically Haran was under attack by the Valorians. They were makeshifting these floors kind of things to get to the docks, and then they were makeshifting these other floors to get to the walls because they were all trapped, I guess, and then they were building pillars up to cross the walls, and they were almost there when this note came to Aaron saying, it's Kestrel, let me in, I think. I don't know if the note ever got to Aaron, because it didn't say that he grabbed the note, it just said that there was a bird. I don't know. So he opens the gates and Kestrel's there, and she's got this yellow mark, gold sparkly mark over her eyebrow, and she hands him this notice saying that, you know, you're free as long as you do this, 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 this. And then he's like, how did this happen? And he recognized the mark and was kind of like, you know, don't do this, don't, like, we can figure something else out. And she's like, no, it's fine, this is how it has to be. And so basically, the end of the book leaves us at the war front where Aaron has this thing that says, you know, you can be free under the Emperor's rule, and then it's Kestrel is getting married to the Empire's son, so it's like, you know, like, this tension, all this tension. And so that's how the book ends, and it's just like, what? I just skimmed all that because I wanted to know what happened, and then it stopped. And so I picked up the next book, and I'm like halfway through it, and nothing is happening yet, so I figured I would do my book talk now. So yeah, that's how the book happened. I'm so just like, my head right now is just confused, and I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars because for me personally, there wasn't enough world building. I was really confused about the difference between the Haranis and the Valorians and how that happened, and the slavery thing, and there was just so many things that weren't explained, and I was really confused about a lot of it, and that really, really bothered me because the book, I was reading this book at like a snail's pace. Like, I just didn't have any motivation to pick it up and keep reading it because I didn't understand. So yeah, there wasn't enough world building. I felt like there was too much going on, like, and the whole Kestrel and Aaron thing, like, I was back and forth. Like, I really, really liked their relationship. I liked the tension. I liked how it wasn't like every other book where it's like, they're so in love and like, they'll do anything to be together and like, you know, all the sappy romancy books. Like, this was actually like, it was raw and it was real, and it was their struggle to be together and their struggle to not want to be together, but they still wanted each other. It was just, oh, I loved it. I really honestly just liked Kestrel a lot as a character. She was so great and brilliant, and like, her personality, I loved her personality. She was just so different from the other heroines that you hear about and that you read about, and I really loved her. Like, she's probably one of my favorite female characters right now, but like I said, the book itself, like, I'm trying to give The Winter's Crime a chance, but there's not enough world building, and I'm still really confused about a lot of it, and it's really frustrating, and so I'm gonna go finish The Winter's Curse, or The Winter's Crime now, and then I will do a book talk on that, and maybe by then I'll be okay with this book, but we will see. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a lot of me ranting, so I'm sorry, but I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, evening, morning, whatever time it is when you're watching this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!